Hi everyone. So in the previous video, we have seen how to create login and logout APIs, right? And we have seen that when we are performing operations into the database, like when we are retrieving the information about the user or checking the passwords and all, we were using user data store. And now in this particular video, that's a continuation of the previous video where we're going to create two more two kind of APIs also. One would be for register and another would be on where we are performing CRUD operations on a particular table which we have seen in the previous video, that we have created one model for the product, right? So we would be working on that. So let's have a quick recap of what we have done in the previous video. In the previous video, if you have not watched and if you're watching this video without watching the previous video, please, I would recommend that please look at that video first and then come to the this particular video. In the previous video, what we have done is which was different from the past few videos, where we have followed a modular approach, and that is we have various files over here which says that one is for configurations. We have a different file for the configurations. We are specifying all the configurations which are required for our application separately, and also we have created different file for an database object as well as a user data store object, as you can see over here. And also we have segregated our models into different files. And by now, I hope, since you have done your Madras project, I know that you are very familiar with these modularization of your code, but just for an recap, I have done that. And at the last, where what we were discussing was in the auth APIs file, which you can see over here, and we have created two resources. One is for the login, then what we are given the name as login resource, and the second was the logout resource, as you can see over here. And the main thing which we followed over here is how to get the authentication token when we are sending the request, and how to ensure that whenever an API is been hit and if an authentication token is required, how do we ensure that we are sending an authentication token, as you can see over here. And I hope this is clear now. What else we have done is, so every API, first we were getting the data from our user via an request. So we were getting, as in for an every API request, user was sending a body with contains a JSON data which has some fields which we were checking, ensuring that whatever the data which we are receiving from the user is correct or not. Basically, we were trying to perform the data validation over here, and some other data validations on ensuring that the password is correct and everything. So once that was done, all the data validation which was necessary has been done. We were using the user, whatever the model which we have defined over here, and we were using this get auth token function. So maybe you can think of like you have defined this particular get auth token function over here. So if you go and look on your models.py file, and this user class which we are using over here, it does not have any such function which says that get auth token, as you can see over here. But we are using get auth token over here. So where this particular function is coming from, where the code is written for this particular function, and this might be one of your Viva questions if you think, because you are using this particular function, and you should know, right, where this particular function is, where the logic for this particular function has been written, and how you are able to use it with that particular class object of the class user. So if you go into your models file over here, in this particular class, you have not defined this particular function. So how and where this is coming from? Okay, so this is coming from this particular function which is user mixin, which we have defined, which this particular class user is inheriting. So all these functions like get auth token, and there are many other functions which have been defined in this particular class which we are using, and this user mixin is coming from the Flask security. So in the Flask security document and the Flask security code, it has been defined, and we are using via inheriting this user mixin class in our user object. I hope this particular point is clear. So let's come back. So once we have ensured that all our API, all the password and the credentials which our user has passed to us are correct, we are getting the authentication token from the user object. This is over here, and then we are letting that, okay, using the utils library which is also coming from the Flask security, we are letting that, okay, you can log in the user now. And once we are able to log in the user, what we are trying to do is we are saying that, okay, now you send this particular result. We are creating an object of the result dictionary where we are saying that, okay, whatever message or data which we want to pass from the server to the user, and that's what we have defined over here, as you can see. And then we are using make response, and we are passing the status code as well as the whatever the result or the data which we want to pass. So this was how we have created a login user resource, and the second thing was the logout resource. And this was simple, like user can be logged out once user has logged in, right? So with this logic, we want to ensure that whenever whenever user is hitting this particular API, he should also have an authentication token. So the authentication token which has been received from the login, it should be passed back when hitting this particular resource, and that's what we are saying by using this particular route which says that @auth token required. And then we similarly, the way we have done, ensure that we are logging in using utils library, utils.login user. Similarly, we are saying that okay, we will log it out using utils.logout, and when this is done, we can create a message saying that you have been logged out successfully, and we can return it. If something goes wrong, we can also add error handlings and all that, but that's not our concern right now. It's just to explain you that okay, we can create login and logout APIs, and how do we create the authentication token with the Flask security. That was the objective, and we have demonstrated that in the previous video, and this was just a quick recap of that. Now in this particular video, what we will do is first we will create an resource for registering the users, because when you are doing your Mad1 project, you were using Flask RESTful Alchemy. In this particular project also we are using Flask RESTful Alchemy, but the difference is here we are also using Flask security, and the two tables which we have created, right? User resource, user role, user, and the role table. These three tables are connected with the security. So we have, whenever we are performing add operation into these three tables, we have to perform a slightly different than how we used to do in Flask RESTful Alchemy, right? So for that reason, we'll see how we can create a user register. You have seen an example in the few videos where we were handling how to integrate Flask security. We are using a user data store itself, but how do we integrate that with an API and all? We'll see this now. So assuming that here at this particular point, I'm making an assumption, and assumption is that my user which I'm passing, the date, the request which would be passed over here, it will have a body which contains all the essential information. And for us, if you go into our models.py file table, it should have a username, email, and password. These three fields are necessary in case we are registering a new user. The rest of the things, this FS unifier and token unifier, these two things have been taken care by the Flask security, or basically the user data store, and ID would be auto incremented. So and also the rules. So these three things which we need to pass as an API. And so let's go and create a API for now. So we have been following a similar exercise. We will be creating a new class, and the class, let's give the name as register user, and we will inherit the resource class from there. And as we have seen in when we are creating these APIs, that we would be defining various functions like get function or post function or delete function, depending on what HTTP method we want to handle that request for. So what we will do, I want to send a post request, and the post request would be the post request which I want to send over here. It would be okay, let's get the credentials, or we can say register user credentials. User credentials is equals to request dot get JSON. Yeah, and similar exercise we can do is if user credentials are empty, or it does not have a username, because that's the user cred dot get username. So what we can do is we can ensure that what all the three fields which we needed were username, email, and password. These three fields were necessary, so we'll check for these three fields, and if they are not there, we can create a result object, and basically dictionary with the data which we wanted to initially we want to just send a message saying that these fields are required, and you should pass that. If you want to send this individual message like what is exactly wrong, for example, if you want to send a message saying that username is missing, then you can put into different if statements, but right now I'm passing as a general message, so that's why I've specified into just a single statement. I'm doing a single check. So once this is done, I can return by saying creating a make response by saying calling the function called as make response, 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 and we can return whatever the status code which you want to send, and then that's how we have handled. That's how we have handled the case where the data which I'm receiving from my user in a body is valid information. Now the next thing is, the whatever username I'm getting, I want to ensure that the email ID as well as the username which are being created, they are not already existing into my database. So if you look at the models.py file, we have specified unique for these two fields, username and email. So I have to make this particular data validation as well, that whatever username and the email I'm getting, it should not already exist into my database. So basically what I'm doing over here is I'm performing a read operation, right? So let's call it as the user is equals to, we can use user data store dot find user, and then what we can do is username is equals to user CRUD dot username, and if this user is there with this particular email ID, we can return saying that username already exists. And again similarly we can check for the email also. So user data store dot find user, and we are passing the email now, and if this user exists, similarly we can send that okay, email already exists. So what we are performing over here, if you look at all these things, right, whatever we are doing over here, these are all sort of data validations which we are performing over here, right? And this thing has been done. Now the next data validation, let's say that we want to restrict some length with the password, should we have some characteristics, it should have one alpha number, it should be alphanumeric, it can't be alpha number, and whatever restrictions you want to impose on your password, we can define the logic for that as well here. But for now what I'm doing is, so let's get the username into a particular variable, and also the email and the password, because it's easier than to handle. And with this we now want to ensure that the password is of a correct length. So if length of the password, let's say that is less than 6, we'll say that it should be a 6 character length, and again we are sending a 400 error. So we have sent 3 status errors with the 400 error with some message, and now this thing has been done. Now we are ensuring, we are very sure that the data which we are getting from the user is correct and accurate. Now we can add the data into a database. So that's the only requirement, right? When we are creating a new user, we want to add that user into a database. So let's create a user store, user data store dot create user, and we'll pass these free fields. Since we are not using any hashing, we'll not hash the password as of now. And that's why I've removed that particular part which was suggested by Copilot for me. And now also I have to specify, when I'm creating a new user, I have to also tell you what the role it is. Accordingly, let's assume that whatever this request which we are sending, we are creating only the user and not the admin. So if you're seeing that when we are using in models in the app.py file, if you see over here when we were creating the user, we are defining the roles, and we define both the roles, admin role and the user role. But here I just want to ensure that whenever a user is being created with this particular API, only a user with the user role can be created. So let's get a user role from the user data store. So we'll say user data store dot find role, and we can tell okay, what is the name, and then we can define the roles as user role. I hope this is clear. So now we have added the data. Now we have to make we have to commit the session, whatever the changes we have made into the data, we have to commit all those changes. And now this DB is, I think it's not there already. So what we will do is we will import DB from the from database. We will import the DB. Yep, it's now we have imported that, and yep. Now the data user has been created successfully. We can also create a result object now, saying that okay, user has been created with this username and this email, and we can return the result using a make response and whatever the status codes we want to send. Right now we are sending 2 not 1, and this API has been created. So we have successfully created now a register user API. Let's save the file. If we'll go to the app.py file now, and where we have defining all our endpoints, right? So apart from the logout user, now I have to also import the register user, and then I have to define the endpoint over here. So I can just say api.add resource and /register. So let's save the file. Our virtual environment is active over here. We can run python app.py file, and we'll check whether we are able to successfully add the users or not. So let's see app.py file, and in the meantime this particular server is running. We can open a Thunder client yep, and this is the server is running. Let's head and request to register. Yep, we need to pass username, password and email address, right? So let's also add email, and so for now let's say that it's user1, address is user1@gmail.com, and also the password is, for us it's user1, and it should be 6 characters, so 4 5 6 7. Yep. So now the password length has been also satisfied, the user address and all this has been added. If you go in this particular header, we have also this authentication token, but this particular API does not require the authentication token, so we'll remove this. So whenever now we are sending this request, we are not sending any authentication token as such in the body and the request, and we are sending the post request. Everything is done, server is running. Let's click on send, and we got some expected errors. It says that we say that when we are using find role, we got an unexpected argument with the name in the. So if we go and check over here, so this is with the find role, which is getting a name as in this thing. So let's go to the app.py file. And let's remove the name from here. I think we don't need this, and let's save the file, and it's reloading, and again we can go and hit this request. And we have successfully registered our user. And if we go to the files now and look at our instance, which is here, we would be able to see the user which has been added. So now any user we want to add, we can just hit this particular API with the whatever credentials which we want to add, and we would be able to add registers into our application. So this thing, if you go and look for the user table, we created user1 now, and it has been created, and also this other fields have been pre-populated already. So I hope you have understood how to create authentication APIs for now, and we have seen various, we have seen in this particular video, we have seen how to register user. Now this is with the user data store, because these are because as I said earlier as well, that user and role are connected with the security, the Flask security. So the operations, the create, CRUD, create operations are different from other models, right? So we have seen those things. Now we'll also see how we can perform CRUD operations on other models, which would be necessary for any of your problem statement where you are making a CRUD operations. We'll see how to create that APIs now. So for that, instead of working with inside the auth APIs file, let's create a different file, and we'll call it as a CRUD API.py, and we'll start working with this particular file. I need to import some things from the. I'll copy these few things. I don't need the. Yep, I can copy all this. And we'll come back to the CRUD APIs. Where is CRUD APIs? Yeah, over here. And these are the few imports which I might need. That's why I have directly copied from other files. Other things which I need is from database. I would be needing DB. From models, I would be needing import product. So that was the product name. The model was the products, right? So I need this. I want to perform the CRUD operations on this particular thing, and yeah, these imports I need. I don't need the utils, so I can remove it. So when I'm creating APIs, I need these request JSON if I make response and the resource. So these things are necessary for us. Yeah. And now we can start performing create CRUD operations on the products. So let's first we can perform the CRUD operations in the same class. So let's say that we are creating a class which says a resource which is responsible for product. Let's give it the name as product resource, RESOURCE, and we can also inherit RESOURCE. Yep. And then now what we want to do is we want to define some functions. Let's first work with the get function. Okay, and let me just complete this line. And yeah, now what do we expect from this particular CRUD operation, right? What do we expect from this particular API? So let's say let's look at so whenever I'm hitting this particular API like this /API/ product / let's say that 1. What I'm expecting is when I'm hitting this particular API over here, I should be able to get the details of this particular product. Or instead, if let's say that I say 5, I should be able to get all the products details with this particular product ID is 5. So this should be dynamic, and that's the argument which we are getting over here. We have seen similar things. I'm not sure whether you have seen it or not. And then this API can be make it like this, that we are saying product ID. Yep, and this way we can get all the product details. I hope this is clear. And so for this particular kind of an endpoint, we are creating this get function. So we will be receiving an get request for this particular endpoint. Yep. And so what we need to do over here, first we need to get the product details, like we generally used to get products is equals to so products dot, like the similar queries which we were using in your SQL Alchemy. We can just get product ID. Yep. So we have received the product details. It may be possible that whatever user ID which we are passing over here inside the product ID is not existing. So we can say that if this product is none, and if this is not a product, it would be a single project, right? So we can just call it as a product instead of products, because this will return just one product, because we are querying within primary key. And if that's not the case, we can return return make response, and we can just say JSONify with the message whatever says that product is not found. And if we have got the products correctly, we can define results result is equals to, let's say, so what all things which we are getting from the product table. So we'll go and look at the models.py file. So when we receive the product information, we have the name, description, price, and stock. All these fields are there with the product. So let's go to the CRUD API, and we can say product ID, name, description, and we get price, and what else we get from there, and stock. So if you look at over here, these are the 4 things which we get, and we are returning that as an. Also what we can do is, instead of just passing that, and we can send a message saying that product has been retrieved successfully. and the data which we are sending, it can be a nested dictionary. So let's call it as a product, and that would be is equals to, and it can be specified and written as a dictionary. We can indent it properly. Yes, and this is how we can create a result, and then we can return the whatever the make a response, and we can return the data. So this is how we are performing an create operation. So this, you can consider this as an create operation which we are performing. And so inside in the CRUD we have create, read, update and delete. So we have done the create operation, sorry, it's a read operation. Yep, we have performed the read operation now with just specific one endpoint, right? And now let's say that we want to hit when we have an in product information which we want to add into our table, and and we want to head to this particular product, and we want to send a post request to this particular, like this particular API, and we want to send a post request. So you see over here there's a difference. Here this particular thing is being different, and this here we are not passing that extra string which needs to be there, and but we are putting these two things inside the same class, which is product resource, and we are now defining for the post request. So what we will do is, let's say that define post self, and the difference comes here that we are not passing any argument here. Now we are not passing any argument here like we did in the get request over here. So let's come here, and so this would have a credentials in the body. So we can say product cred is equals to we get the data, and we can what are the unique fields are there in our product table. So we have not defined anything as such unique in our model, but let's assume that name and the price are unique, they cannot be different. So if not product predictions or the name and product, these two things are not there, we will make a response saying that product and prices are required. Once that is done, so we'll get the name, price, as well as we will also get the description and the stock. So once we get these things, I want to ensure that whatever name, since the name is unique, okay, here what all things were nullable. Let's come back to the models.py file. So only the not nullable thing is name. The price and stock are also not nullable, so we can check for the stock as well, or not product credential.get stock. Product name, stock and price are required. We have made the changes. Now I have to query, I want to perform, because let's say that the name which I am passing for the products is unique. So what I can say that if I'll query products.query.filter by name, we can query and if this particular product exists, we will return saying that product already exists, and then we can create a new product with all the fields which we wanted to pass, like name, stock, description, price and stock. And are there any other things which are being passed over here? I think no. So now we can call db.session.add new products, and we can commit. After that we can create a result saying that product has been created successfully, some product information, and then we can return saying ret url return make response. And so you have seen that, okay, we are making a response whatever the data which you want to send. In between we are performing data validation and adding the fields into our databases, and otherwise all the things have been created, have been handled by our resource. So it's very repetition of the same things. I hope you have gotten intuition on how we are using and how we are creating this API. So if you will see, what will happen now is that this thing will keep repeating, this notion or this concept will keep repeating for all the APIs which you are creating. It's not just specific to now whether you're performing CRUD on products table or categories table or whatever models you have defined apart from user and the roles table. So we have you have the post. And similarly, let's say that you can similar to the get, you can also define the put over here. Now this yep, and then let's say that you can define put, yes. And so similarly, now when we are making an update, so we have seen how to create a new product using the post method. We have seen how to retrieve the information about a particular product. We have used get for that, and now we are making an update into the existing product which we have created. So for that we can create a put request. We can send a post request with the same endpoint which we have seen over here, like this. And so the first thing which we need to check is whether the product which is there, right, product exists with this particular product ID. So we can query and get the product details, and if it's not there, we say that product is not found. We have got the products, that is okay. We'll get the updated details, and we'll get the updated records, and we'll also check for whether these fields are not empty and all like that. Okay. And once we get that, and it would be similar to what we are performing an update, but it won't be okay. So the new name which we get over here, we need to ensure the new name which we have got over here, we need to ensure that this does not exist. So we can say product is equals to products dot query, and instead of using calling it as a products, let's call it as a new product, products dot query dot filter by. And if new product is there and it does not match with the current product ID, and we can say that it's already existing, and then we can make update all these fields like this. I'm going fast over here with the Flask RESTful welcoming concepts because I am under this assumption that since you have done your Mad1 project, you know all these things. So that's why I'm rushing with the Flask RESTful welcoming concepts over here. But if you want me to explain this Flask RESTful welcoming concepts, please comment it down. After completing this bootcamp, Mad2 bootcamp series, I might create the videos for that as well. And once we have done this, we can once we have made an update, we can commit the changes, and once the commit changes has been done, we can return the data. And similar access which we have done, we will create a response and we will return that. So this is how we have created a put request. Similarly, we have created a post request and the get request. Similarly, you can create a delete request as well. It would be very simple. Let's quickly run with the delete as well. So what we are doing, the similar exercise where we wanted to ensure that the product ID which we are getting is correct. We'll delete that, commit the changes into the database, and we'll return the message saying that product has been deleted successfully. And this particular API would be hit when we are sending a delete request. So if you see here, the important part which comes over here is how do we define the endpoints for this. So if we go to our app.py file where we are defining this, like we were just specifying one endpoint, but if you see the class which we have created now, it has a different set of sequences over here, where sometimes we are passing the product ID, at some points we are not passing the product ID, and all that. Also we can let's come over here to the app.py file, and let's also now from CRUD APIs we'll import the product resource, and then we can define two endpoints over here, as you can see. So whenever user hits this particular endpoint, so wherever this endpoint has been there, right, wherever there is an argument in that get function, those function will be called. I hope this has been, so we have this particular endpoint we have defined two endpoints, one without the product ID and other is with the product ID. So let's save the file, and so we have defined get, post, put, and delete. So let's test 2 or 3 APIs which we can test for now. So let's send it to let's send a post request first to the products, or it is a product, right? So it is a product, so we can send a request, and instead of these fields now we need a name. Let's say apples. We need and the next thing which we need is price. Let's say 60 rupees, and the next thing which we need is for the prices, name, price, and stock. So let's say that we have 100 kgs of apples, and we send a post request. This product has been added successfully. Let's add another product, let's say banana, and the price is 20 rupees, and we have 10 such bananas, and we send and click. So we are able to create the products. If you want to check your database and look for your products table, you can see the two products which you wanted to add has been added successfully. So the post API which we created is working. The post API for the product is working. Let's say that I want to get in detail about the product ID which I've sent for the 2, and I'm sending a get request now. Since this does not require anybody, even if I'm sending it, doesn't matter because we are not receiving it. So when I send it, I'm getting the product information over here. As you can see, the description was empty, that's why we got an empty field over here. Yeah, and let's say that I want to pass that, let's say ID which is not there in my database. It says that product not found, so that is also working properly. So we have seen the get. So let's make for a port request now. So we want to update 1, and along with this let's say 2, and along with the description we'll also add the description now. Description. Some description we have added, and let's send it a product. And you see we got a 400 product has been updated successfully. If you go look for the products, let's auto reload, and the description has been over here now. So we have this update is also working properly. And if you want to delete, let's say that we want to delete one of the products and send, we got a 200 error, 200 status code which says that product has been deleted successfully. If you look for your products, now only one is there. So the APIs which we have created for CRUD operations is working properly. So by this, whatever we have covered in these past 5-6 videos, you would be able to complete your backend completely. So with whatever we have learned in these 5-6 videos, I'm under this assumption that now you would be able to complete entire backend, whatever APIs you need to have in your application. So how to decide on what all APIs you need into your application? So think, look at you might have a wireframe in your mind about your application. So look at each and every page which you have created in your wireframe, and try to think and understand, okay, what kind of data you need to display this particular page. Based on that, you start creating APIs for each and every data. You can club few things or you can segregate. It's completely up to you. But now this is an important exercise where what you have to do is look at each and every wireframe you have created for each and every page, and start thinking about, okay, in order to display this particular page, what all data you need. And now with this particular information, now you start creating the APIs for all the data. And this is how you can, after following this exercise, you would be able to complete your backend part of your project. The things which are there in your project, like asynchronous tasks related to sending emails, asynchronous updates, and daily reminders, right? All that thing, or maybe exporting the entire data that requires Redis and Celery, which we will do, but after touching the front end part of the application, right? So now in the next future videos, we will be focusing on the front end part of our application, and we'll first start with understanding the concepts of view, and then probably after some time we can have a slightly running demonstration of the project. See you in the next video where we would be dealing with the front end. And in the meantime, if you have any doubts, please do comment down. I would try to reply back on your comments as and when I get your time. Thank you so much.